Yeah, there's a book by Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. It's, ultimately it's about living a moderate life, living a life of moderation, not too high and extreme on both ends. Many of us have, especially entrepreneurs like business.
Welcome to The Flow, Real Estate and Money Show. For people in Canada looking to understand the home buying process, to demystify real estate investing, and to make mortgage financing accessible for anyone. The goal here on this show is to help people understand ways to make their money work for them, get in the market sooner, and realistically, completely open up the box on how mortgage financing works. I'm Alex McFadyen, your host, and I can't wait to help get you into the flow.
From lemonade stands to running one of the top brokerages in Western Canada, specifically the #1 real estate brokerage in Vancouver. Today's guest talks about dealing with addiction, loss, becoming a realtor at 22 years old, and facing 2008 adversity, why simplicity is the key to investing, and what he would do if he had to go back to invest in real estate today. Today's guest is Michael Yu, one of the owners and co-founders of Oakwyn Real Estate. If you haven't heard of them, you probably will. Coming in the next few years, they now have 8 offices across the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island, moving into the interior, and they are to be reckoned with. Michael comes on and talks about all of his history, his experiences, his past, and so much more. You're going to love this episode today because I absolutely did just sitting here and listening. We'll see you on the other side. All right, let's get back to it. So you're #1 in Vancouver, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, not messing around now.
Okay.
And soon to be the world?
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah.
There is no hope.
Yeah.
I've learned that about you, Michael. You're very intentional.
I am very intentional. Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Okay, let's cut back. It'll make a little bit more sense.
Okay.
All right, we got Michael Yu on, co-founder of Oakwyn. We already gave him some information and props in the introduction, so we'll get right to it. Michael, you're one of the most understated men I've met who has built a company of this magnitude and structure, a guy that we can share coffee and talk about ridiculous things. And, the moment we met the first time would have been just over a year ago as an introduction. I sensed the genuine nature of who you are. And
thank you.
For a lot of reasons, when people listen to this episode and have listened to this conversation today, I think a lot of people are just going to take away the fact that you are not just intentional and you've got a really interesting way of thinking about things, but you're a good dude. So thank you for taking the time to be here.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the compliments. I'm really good at receiving compliments. So.
I've noticed that about you. That's a good thing.
I'm really bad, but I've learned to try to say thank you with those things.
No doubt. So we had to tell a little bit of the origin story. Even with an introduction, we have to talk about it a little bit here. So by trade, you originally were a real estate agent.
Yes. Yep.
And so what year were you licensed?
I was licensed in 2006. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
2006.
Last year of university.
Oh, so you were one of those 21-year-old, 22-year-old?
Yeah, I started when I was 22, 23 years old. Yeah.
Was it your first job?
It was probably my first real job. Like I've worked my whole life. So since I was 5 or 6 years old with a lemonade stand, and I worked in fast food. I worked as a dishwasher. I have a house painter. I did some construction, and yeah, I've worked my whole life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going there already. Fantastic. 2022, you get your first real job. I'd like to know why you call that your first real job versus your previous ones.
Yeah, it's because it was kind of like a step into a career. And so most people that start into real estate are transitioning from another career. I kind of chose it intentionally as a kind of a career path for me. Yeah, after my dad died. So yeah.
Was that recently before that your dad passed?
Yeah. So my dad died in my third year of university. My dad was an immigrant from the Philippines. He didn't have much education, so he always wanted us to get educated. So his dream for me was to be a lawyer. So I was on that path. And then when he passed away, I had 3 sisters, my grandparents, my mom. So I couldn't afford to go to law school anymore. So that's when I got my real estate license in my last year of university to hopefully help to provide for my family. And it was an awesome choice, and I'm glad I did it.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, so you went into 100% commission with almost like a 10% success rate and said,
Right.
Yes, I'm going to go into this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't do much studying, homework about it. I just jumped in head first. Yeah.
Well, and looking back today, obviously it was a good decision. So you're pretty happy with that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little further then, because you said that you were working since you were 5 years old. So you did the lemonade stand thing.
Right.
What were some of the other things that you did?
So I'm really close to my family. So I'm one of 5 kids, from my family. So I'm the middle child. I have 2 brilliant older sisters. I got a younger brother and a kid sister as well. And I'm the middle child. So yeah, we grew up in a rental house in Vancouver, right on Oak Street. Hence our name, Oakwyn. And we grew up in a rental house on Oak Street, and we set up a lemonade stand right on Oak Street, my brothers and sisters and I, and we did that all summer long for, several summers. And yeah, it was business was booming.
I bet.
Yeah, lemonade business is a good business.
I love that. And did you set that up just because you were like, oh, we need to make a couple extra bucks? Was that?
Yeah, I think because, my parents gave us a lot of, not a lot of material things, but a lot of, good lessons. So one of the lessons is nothing in this world is given to you. You have to earn it. So so we really, from a young age, we kind of tried to earn our own ways if we could. So like we didn't have our RESPs, or we didn't get any family support for our education. So we all had to carve our own path. And
so, that's a first big thing. So that's got to be a pivotal moment in your life where you were able to take that lesson that you mentioned, which is the earn it versus get it given to me right now. And, we obviously don't want to spill the beans on everything right now, but if you think about that particular lesson in those moments and what you did around that time, is that something that you carry forward into your life today?
Oh, absolutely. I think, I feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of my parents and my grandparents and the, people my family before me. And, anything that I ever do is a credit to the people that brought me up and my friends and family who support me now. And so I kind of take a more of a communal, and that might be like an Eastern philosophy thing, like a more of a family focus to, even finance and everything else. I kind of take that, that attitude and that outlook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the question about money. And this is a conversation that we'll have ongoing here. But if there's anything I've learned in conversations with people in different walks of life is that everyone has a different attitude towards money and the impact that it's had in their life. And this can dictate what they do going forward, but also the happiness that they feel. So when you think about your life growing up, you had a rental house, you had 5 siblings, you had, your parents taught you, okay, you don't get things, but here's the lesson. And you think about where you're at today. What does money mean to you? Like, what does it mean?
Money to me it just provides freedom for you to make decisions and choices that you'd like to make. I value freedom a lot, and kind of being able to help others and see kind of raise the quality of life for my family is something that I see money being able to do. So it doesn't provide happiness, but it just makes life a lot more free and easier to be able to make choices that you want to make effectively. Yeah.
Would you say that
I look at it.
You personally have a good relationship with money?
Yeah, I think so. I've never, I've always been like pretty modest. I've always been like the saver type, and I've never lived beyond my means before. So, and because I knew that it didn't give me, probably, these are probably lessons of my dad. My dad came here from the Philippines when he was 18 years old, and they didn't have very much. He worked at a fast food restaurant that was owned by my uncle. And, basically, I think he was very much like a wonderful, wonderful man. But, I think he was always trying to prove himself to himself or to other people. So he would, having 5 kids, he would buy a Porsche, living in a rental house, right? And kind of wear fancy suits and stuff like that. And so it was kind of an interesting dichotomy. So, obviously as a child, we went through some highs and lows. So with our family finances. So, my dad later on, he got into commercial real estate, in leasing and in development consulting and everything like that. So he'd have these phenomenally great years, and we would live in like a great place and go on a vacation. And then, and then the market would swing downwards, and then it would be like, we were like renting a house, that had some like, vermin in it type of thing. Not, it wasn't so bad. It was, we had each other, we had our family, which was the most important thing. But, we had a lot of highs and lows, and I kind of saw a lot of those highs and lows, and I kind of made a a little bit of a internal promise to myself that I would never do that for myself personally. I would try to be as responsible as I could for my own family and my own personal life. So yeah, that's kind of probably some of the reasons why I kind of don't go out. I don't make it rain at the club or anything.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I make it trickle.
Perfect.
Yeah. I make it, what do they call it? Not rain, but sprinkle.
Sprinkle.
I make it sprinkle at the club.
Another clip. Thank you, Mike. The truth is, everybody has their own feeling, and you have the right to feel how you feel based on your past and your history. And that's an interesting one, obviously, one where you had a lot of extreme highs and a lot of extreme lows. So what I heard from you is that you didn't really love that extreme high or low. You were looking for something a little bit more steady.
Yeah, there's a book by Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. It's, ultimately it's about living a moderate life, living a life of moderation, not too high and extreme on both ends. And I think, many of us have, especially entrepreneurs, like business people, have the kind of an affinity towards living in extremes. So, I try to live in the middle if I can, but for the most part, sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. So, yeah.
Don't we all?
Right.
All right. Well, let's bring it back to your journey. You obviously mentioned you entered into real estate 2006, lived through the fun of 2008. Which I wonder if right now, if you're feeling a little bit of, or a few reminders or shockwaves, although we didn't get hit as hard in Canada as the US.
Right.
Does the 2008 market, or does anything now remind you of that at all?
Yeah, obviously with the market activity being at where it's at, it does have some reminiscence of it, obviously in a very different position. Actually, I think sometimes when you're a bit naive of things, it helps you if in some cases. So when I was starting in real estate in 2006, I had a really hard time out of the gate for the first 6 months. I didn't make a sale. I was really struggling. I didn't have, any resources. I felt that I was, maybe too young. I didn't have the network, and also I didn't have money to spend on investing into marketing. And there wasn't social media that back then, which was kind of a free type of marketing. So I was really, and then I kind of asked my brokerage at the time for support, and it wasn't very comprehensive. The education, the mentorship, the support wasn't really available to me. So so I kind of went to the library. I borrowed every book about how to be a good realtor. I read them cover to cover. I studied it like a course. And in my first calendar year in 2007 of being a realtor, I sold 53 homes.
Wow.
So I was my office's rookie of the year, and I was the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver rookie of the year in 2000. And then 2008 hit. And then I remember the agents in the office who, without naming names, there was a culture of like competition and really kind of like, it was like passive. It was very passive aggressive. No one was really collaborating and sharing knowledge. There was some kind of undertones of ageism and other things. And I'm a Chinese guy that doesn't speak Chinese. So there was a bit of like, like different derogatory terms that were used, directed towards me. So it wasn't really...
Say it is what it is, man.
Yeah, it wasn't a great environment to be able to learn and grow.
Sure.
So they would tell me, the guys at the office would be like, well, your free ride is up, Mike. Now it's time that, the market's going to shut down. You better get another job. You better figure it out. And, I think I had a bit of maybe I was a bit naive. So I always like to focus on things that are within my control. And so I focused really on, developing great relationships, providing value for my clients, and, really providing great opportunities for people. And seeing down markets as an opportunity is better than seeing it as a kind of doom and gloom. So I feel like I was probably the only positive realtor in 2008. And I was maybe too optimistic about a turnaround, and I thought it would come, because real estate's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well. So I in 2008, I sold more property than I did in 2007.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So it is a mind state thing in many cases from a real estate agent perspective and also a buyer perspective.
Yeah, I think so. I think when people take a long-term when they take a long-term approach to real estate and to investing or anything along those lines, I think that that's the wisest decision because it's not a short-term asset. It's a long-term asset. So, I think making decisions for the long term is what people should do in real estate. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So you had a huge 2007, bigger 2008, dealt with ageism, let's call it what it is, racism, other things like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right.
Jerks.
Not nice people.
Not nice people.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after that, and we're obviously skipping some stuff here, but you made a decision to start your own company.
Yeah, so I made a decision in 2013 to start our own brokerage. So, I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Oakwyn Real Estate. So we've been open for 10 years. It's been a great ride. So yeah, it was a bit of a pivot point personally and for my family, but also just in what I saw with what was available in the real estate market for brokerage options for good, quality agents. So yeah, so I thought there was a gap there that was missing. And so basically the intention was actually just to have an office that we would love to work in ourselves because we were running a thriving real estate team. As soon as my first year was finished in 2007, I needed a lot of help because, we're really fortunate to be able to bring on a lot of listings and clients. So I got my brainiac older sister, Arlene, who's smarter and better and more charming and wonderful than me. So I asked her to start working with me. So her and I worked together in harmony since 2007, 2008, working in resales. So yeah, we built a really great team. We were selling, roughly 100-ish homes a year between the two of us and our assistant. So the three of us would sell in that kind of range of volume. And then, so we were running a really great team. We just wanted a great environment for us to practice where we could be open, we could learn from each other, we learn from other people. They always say you can't grow on an island. So I really wanted to surround myself with great people. So that's where it started. So we started with the office with just me and my sister, two of us. I remember hanging up our business license and Arlene asking me, so what next? And I just said, well, now we build the best brokerage in the city.
Yeah,
and this was, when we were in less than 1,000 square feet above a cupcake shop.
Cool.
With IKEA furniture and Able auctions, filing cabinets and
whatever it takes.
Yeah. And that's how we started. Yeah.
Gained a couple pounds that year with the cupcakes, I'm sure.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
So you start the brokerage and I hate to fast forward anything because this is so tough, but I do want to understand there were some things that occurred. So you're selling, you're 50 homes, you're doing it for your family. You move forward, you're now selling 100 plus homes. You're working with your sister, which that can be very hard for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So good for you for doing that.
I'm lucky. It's hard for her, but easy for me.
Yeah, there you go. So it's hard for somebody in that relationship. Right. And it was only 5 years in that you started your own brokerage because you wanted something a little better out there, right? So there's usually like a selfish reason, but there's always a generosity to it, right? And that's where longevity comes through is, hey, I actually want to offer something, but selfishly I want to learn from all you guys, which is okay. So you were able to transition to starting this brokerage. At what point during this brokerage journey, did you realize that it wasn't just about starting a brokerage that I can learn from people, but there's this culture thing, because that's what you talk about all day, every single day. Right. When I hear you or see you, unless you talk, is you're always promoting that culture. So like, where did that fit in? Where did that come in?
I think it's so important, the people that you surround yourself with and the environment that you're in. I think that's something that's really key to improve your own quality of life. So I think that was a big, reason why we wanted to create like a really giving, people first oriented culture. That started with developing really clear core values within our company. Yep. So that was something that we did from day one. There was a book that I read, I think it's called Delivering Happiness, Tony Hsieh's book by Zappos. And it just really, helped us to nail down exactly what we wanted to accomplish in terms of, being a measure of transformation in an agent's life or in a business person's life from the inside out. So it's really from creating a great core value system that everyone abides by, everyone follows within the company, personally and professionally. And then that bleeds into building the right culture, which is the right, tone and theme within our environment and within our people. So, I'm the most proud of when, an agent or a broker owner comes to me and says, we love working with your people. Your people are the best. They're transparent. They put people first. They're, pillars of the community. They really look for solutions. All those types of things. So we have all of our 7 core values, on each wall of every office that we're in. They're on the first page of our website as well. And we really try to live and breathe those core values. And when an agent it doesn't feel comfortable with any of them, it's just not the right fit, And so for us, we're really big on make sure that we're working with the right people. And we built a bit of a cult following with Oakwyn. So over a 10-year span, starting with 1 agent, me, we've grown over 700 agents now throughout BC, and we're just opening our 8th office, in Victoria. So, it's really exciting times. And what really inspires me is working with great people and just seeing these communities being built and the culture and the values being kind of shared through every agent that we have at the company. And that's something that, it just makes me so excited for the next 10 years and the 10 years after and so on. Yeah. So it's exciting.
And we've seen the growth from the outside.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen the Lower Mainland, and you're going to see Oakwyn a lot everywhere going forward, because I know there's some expansion plans that you've got under mind.
Yeah.
Bringing that back to what you discussed as far as your core values towards money and the feelings that you had.
Sure.
Behind any business person is there are business decisions to be made around money, investments, things that nature that allow you to do what you're hoping to do. I'd love for you to put some of your personal / professional light on just how you look at in making investments yourself for your personal financial portfolio and real estate portfolio. Do you have any core principles that you follow and what you look for?
So I'm a big proponent of simplicity. And I think people overcomplicate things. And, from everything I've read and everything I've learned, specifically for entrepreneurs and business people, it boils down to 2 main things. It's net profit of your business and net worth of you as an individual. So we're working on those 2 kind of weights and measures. So, what we try to do is we invest in our business with time, energy, and some resources to be able to derive a higher net profit within our business operations, and then transferring that net profit, minus your lifestyle, to your net worth. So I am the most simple, basic person you'll ever meet. So basically, I just divide it into my bank. I have 3 bank accounts. I have a operating account that holds 3 to 6 months, or in my case, 6 months of expenses in that float in there. I have a tax account because I love Canada and I want to contribute to my fair share. And so I never want to get, and that's always in a GIC or something like that. And a third is any net worth projects that I have. So that's in stocks, that's in real estate primarily. I'm like 99 or 95% real estate besides RSPs and TFSAs. That's kind of the primary kind of philosophy that I typically take around finances. So I try to take a really simplistic one, and just try to build that net profit within the business, because that's what I have most control over, and then make great choices within your net worth. So that's in buying real estate and being really, I believe in real estate. There is an old book by Pearl Buck called A Good Earth. It's a novel. It's a fictional novel. But it's, I love real estate. I think it's the best vehicle for people to build long-term wealth. It's a high predictor of vast majority of people's net worth is tied within the real estate of their primary residence. But I think if you start investing in small rental properties to begin, and then you scale those up, really the sky's the limit once you kind of, build that system.
Yep. Yeah. So you've got your 3 sections that you invest into, which you shared, and you believe in real estate. To make it personal, what was your first investment?
So my first investment it was funny. When I first got started in real estate, I drove an old beat up van and that I bought from my mom's friend for $1,000. And it was an old van, and I kind of had it from a point of pride, and this is because I think everyone has elements of pride. I always want to be the first one in the office and the last one to leave. Like, I wanted to be that guy when I was first getting started in real estate. So I parked my van right in front of the office. And all the agents in the office would make fun of me. They would be like, Michael, get that hunk of junk off of a parking lot. It's making us look bad. We have to bring clients here, and then your hunk of junk is there. So when I started making sales, I remember one of the agents in the office was like, Mike, I'm going to take you to lunch. And I was like, take me to lunch? Oh, sure. And this was one of the top agents of the office. And he drove me directly to the BMW. And he's like, Mike, your first investment in real estate is to get a lease to get a lease on a BMW, because I'm sick and tired of looking at that hunk of junk. And I remember fighting with the guy that brought me. I was like, I'm not like gonna sink my money into a lease to drive a car. I haven't bought a condo yet. So my first investment was a condo. I bought a condo at 9180 Hemlock Drive in Richmond, unit number 501. I bought that condo, I can't remember. Yeah, it was my very first residence I ever got. And I love that property. And it had granite counters and stainless steel appliances. And it was on the same floor as the gym because I was going to get in shape. But I bought a condo that was my very first investment. I saved every penny that I had from real estate to buy that condo. And it just started my real estate investment journey. And then I bought a small condo in a rough area of downtown in Gastown. And I rented that one out. And then, subsequently I bought quite a number of other properties. And, I just started small with what was affordable, the small condos, and then I scaled up to, detached homes and then commercial property, and then now into multifamily and other commercial properties. So it started with me buying these small, $200,000 and $300,000 condos.
Yep.
And that's how it started. And and I'm really I'm happy I got started when I was very young.
Yeah.
So it worked out well.
So through that journey, it was like a snowball effect, obviously. Mm-hmm. You pick up one, then you pick up the next one,
sure,
and then you start to eliminate that fear, and that fear starts to go away, I imagine. But you just fast forward us from buying that beautiful story about that first condo
sure,
to I got into detached and I got into commercial multifamily. Sure. We want to hear about that, Michael.
Sure.
Tell us how, when you look, so after that first, if you can think back into that position, what were some of the things that you were looking for when you were picking up your few properties mm-hmm. that you would do differently today?
I probably would have bought more because I'm very risk averse. So okay. I like to feel very comfortable. I don't work well under pressure. And I think knowing yourself is really important. I don't work well under pressure. You don't want me to take the last shot of any game because it's not going to go in. I'm very, I'm not a pressure player. I'm very methodical and can kind of systematic. So basically, if I was to, I set really clear targets. So I took an old course a long time ago about goal setting and, setting up 5-year plans or lifetime plans. So I kind of really segmented my life in 5-year chunks. And so I knew what I wanted to accomplish by the time I was 25, by the time I was 30, by the time I was 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So I've kind of mapped it out. And basically, if we were to go back about the net profit versus net worth, it's basically I have net worth targets, and kind of within those net worth targets, I have what kind of assets I want to own, and then net profit as well, like what kind of net profit targets do I have to relate to the net worth. So it's pretty logical. But I am very risk averse. So I tend to err on the side of caution. So if I was to redo it over again, I would probably be less cautious. I turned down a lot of opportunities that I could have made a lot of money in. But, ultimately, if it put me under pressure and it made my, family at risk, I tend to not go with it. Like I could have bought a property right on Cambie Street when they were building, in the Cambie corridor, and now it's a high-rise site. I could have bought that duplex, but I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do in the next 3 to 6 months. Like maybe it's not the right decision, and I didn't buy it. And
so
Yeah.
If you were to go and jump over to young Michael or someone right now in this position,
Right.
Knowing costs are greater, there are some more challenges, but
Yeah.
there's still always opportunities. If you were to go talk to somebody, and let's say you only had 30 seconds to a minute, how would you distill the advice? What would you say to that person to get them off the fence to make that decision? What would they look for?
I think for young people now, they're very external. So they look for external validation. They look for external, external things on social media and, comparing themselves to others. Like that's something that I feel is very toxic. So what I would say is that discover what you're really good at, what really makes you happy, and know that as a kind of a source, as your kind of eternal source of energy and what that means to you, and kind of know what that specifically is and use that for the betterment of your business and for the betterment of the people that are around you. So discovering that first is the most important thing. And then the next steps are, making really quality decisions that don't feed your ego, but really feed that your true self and what's important for your true self versus your ego. Because I feel like a lot of people get trapped in their perception of themselves versus like really what makes them happy. I know what makes me happy. It's, when my family is spending great time together and they're free of worry and pain and in good health. That's what gives me the most joy. And if I can contribute to that, then I am like 10 out of 10 happy as a clam. I don't need anything. I don't need fancy clothes. I don't need fancy shoes. I don't need fancy cars. I don't need fancy real estate. I don't need fancy anything. As long as I know my family is happy and living a high quality of life, then that makes me like a very happy person. So yeah, so I think knowing what what is going to motivate you is something that is key for young people now. Yeah, because I think
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Seeing what other people are doing and the comparison. I've had another person in this chair here who shared with me that often what stops his friends and people that he knows, he's a younger guy, from getting into the marketplace is simply looking at the fancy things that other people have. And well, you have to rent that because of the cost associated with it. But if you're willing to take a step back and buy that older home that needs the fix up work and hang out there for 5 to 7 years, then you can get so much further ahead. So you suggested that advice, and that's great advice for anyone for that matter, no matter whether you're 20 or 60. I think people that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s still have to discover what makes them happy.
Right.
And that's what makes people, generally speaking, not happy in life is because they don't know. And it is a constant discovery. If we were to switch gears a little bit and we were to talk about things purely from an investment perspective, if we were to just jump into that side of things and say, you said there were a lot of decisions that you made a decision obviously because you opted not to go forward with it, but you said there were a lot of things that you wish you had done. If you had the choice, you would have gone back and buy more at the time. So you've got someone in front of you who is thinking, or maybe in a position where they could do that, but they're just not sure. How could they get off the fence and make that decision?
Well, I think, people think timing is everything and, everything is relative, but, everything is relative. So even though the cost of this real estate was, 20 years ago, half the price or a third of the price, costs are all relative, and so basically, to understand the concept of, buying really good valued assets is something that's important. So making sure that they're taking a long-term perspective to their investment is really key and important. To get someone off the fence, I think people are ready when this is like my wife in the back of my, because I'm a very logical person, a very rational person, and my wife is very spiritual and very like meant to be. She's, so, I think it's when it's meant to be, it will be, for people. And sometimes if you're not ready for it, you don't want to force someone when they're not ready. Like, I think that goes against, even if it might be the best decision for them, because they won't be ready to kind of accept, they're maybe not ready to accept the responsibility. Maybe they're not ready to do it at this time of their life. So I think everything has a meant to be aspect to it as well.
That's good. So if we were to dig deep, which I think we dig deep on this question, which is, have you heard of the term shadow side?
No,
The shadow case
no.
of
What's
Carl.
shadow? What's shadow side? I'm
man.
excited. I love
not a-
comics and
Oh man.
like the Dark Knight.
Oh, maybe it is the dark. Because you
Okay,
got Batman
okay.
and the Dark Knight, right? The Dark Knight in the comics, I think, is his like angry side, right? of who he
The
is.
Dark Knight is Batman.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something different here. I don't know the comic that well. Okay,
Okay.
so basically,
I do. Fortunately or unfortunately.
this guy's the guy you want to call when it comes to comics. I know you're a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
So where I was going to go with that is like everybody faces this internal battle as something that's what they don't want to share with people, the dark side of themselves. But the truth is, when you come to terms with that dark side of who you are and you let that out, then people actually come to you, they gravitate towards you because they want to be with someone who's not perfect. They want to be with someone who has some part of their life that maybe not broken, but is healing or needs to be healed.
Right.
You know, I shared early in my podcast journey that I had, and up until today, I'm still dealing with it, an awful opinion and view of money. It was scarce. There wasn't enough of it. It made me angry growing up. I wasn't in a positive position. So in your life, as it relates to your business, your personal or investments, is there something that you has maybe that's behind you, that's been on your shoulder, that's held you back, that you've overcome or are working to overcome that you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, it's, everyone has a kryptonite, everyone has a, a nemesis. And so, yeah, it's really hard to identify exactly the things that have held me back in the past. I would probably say, I have a bit of and this is probably why I talk so much about moderation, is because I come from a long line of addicts. So, my grandfather on my dad's side died of liver cirrhosis from alcoholism. My father died of his smoking and drinking at a young age. My dad died when he was 49 years old. So, and I kind of have a bit of that addictive personality. I try to be addicted to positive things. So, but I have that gene. And so I have to continue to remind myself and that's probably why I trend to reading things and when it comes to moderation and living a middle path. So yeah, I would probably say I have this ability to be extra. Like my wife always calls me like, you're so extra with everything. Like you try so hard with everything. And that's kind of part of my DNA. It's part of my nature. Yeah. So I think that does, caused me to also get very disappointed at certain things. And I get more disappointed at myself. I kick myself a lot when I make bad decisions. I tend to be a little bit overly trusting of people. So I have a bit of naivety to me. So so there's some elements there. So, those are some things that have held me back in the past. I have to be really conscious of that because I think it could lead to my demise, like many a superhero.
Fair points.
Yeah.
I think, well, first of all, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate that. The vulnerability is, I can sense it. I can feel it. It's real. Nothing that was made up. And I appreciate you sharing that because obviously that's something that can be deep. And you turn something that, as we mentioned, is a shadow, the dark side, something that happened, addiction, where it obviously can cause a lot of destruction into something that's more positive and influential. Try
to, but I think everyone has their weaknesses, and knowing what those are is a good thing because you can actually you don't want to have your head in the sand when it comes to where your weak spots are. You want to build. I'm a big believer in building systems or teams around you to help to correct those things. So
I appreciate that.
Right.
It is a really important thing to hear because I hear consistently from people who are on a starting path of their careers or changing careers or looking up to some type of quote unquote successful person in whatever industry they're in, and they think that most of these people are pretty fallible, or they don't have any issues, they don't have any challenges, they don't have any emotional struggles, where the reality is we're really just facing the same challenges at different levels, and we've learned how to attack them differently in many circumstances and situations. So
we're all human. We're all human. Even our favorite heroes have, you only see the one side. You're only seeing this like highlight reel and Instagram life that people live, and that's not the reality. The reality is that we're all fallible, and we all have our weaknesses and our strengths and good days and bad days. But, ultimately it's about, surround yourself with great people and living a happy existence that doesn't hurt others. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some good themes here, and we went way off base of real estate.
Sure.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate.
Okay.
So I only have. I've got a few rapid fire questions that I want.
Sure.
I want to hear what you have to say. Okay.
Sounds good.
What's the best investment you ever made?
Oakwyn. Yeah. Starting Oakwyn.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is your biggest investment regret?
Not buying enough real estate.
Okay, perfect. When you go out tomorrow and you go and analyze some type of a property, what is the one thing, if there's one thing, because there's usually an end thing, that allows you to hit that let's go button?
I would probably say just reviewing my own personal, finances, make sure I can afford it and we can be responsible with it. Yeah.
Where you're at.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the one thing that stops people the most from making a good investment decision or an decision at all?
Right. I think it's probably a lack of knowing the facts and knowing kind of, and not thinking about the long-term impacts of doing things and thinking about it in the short term. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Michael, you're a good reminder of the thoughtfulness that's required in real estate, but you're also a good reminder of the importance of simplicity, as you mentioned before.
Yeah. And that's I can't hammer that home enough. Like, people make things so complicated and they're not very complicated. Like, if you want to be, yeah, I think you can be a little bit in the weeds and you can get super detailed, but it always typically boils down to one or two things. It's kind of like, I have a friend that's really in great shape and he's just like, Mike, it's diet and exercise. That's it. Like nothing else. And like, so it's,
No magic pills.
There's no magic pills, like diet, exercise. You can do all the little things, but it's just those two things. And then if you take care of those, you'll be in good shape. Like that makes a lot of sense to me. So
I love that. All right. And what's next for Oakwyn? What should people be looking out for?
So yeah, we're expanding our company. So we want to, deliver great value to our agents that we have currently. That's the number one thing we do that we want to do the most is just provide better services for our agents out in the marketplace. And by providing better services to our agents, we want them to serve the general public, the buyers and sellers in the marketplace at a higher level, better communication, better marketing, better professionalism within the field. So hopefully the public benefits from Oakwyn being existing. And so we're just going to grow our company from the inside out, one agent at a time, working really closely with them. And, just how we built our business is primarily through referrals. So we basically build our business through recommendations of our agents saying, hey, you got to check out our office. We are doing things in a different way. So yeah, that's kind of how we approach it. And yeah, so we're going to be growing our company, intentionally, using our, good structures. And we have great people. And I haven't talked about our staff. And the people at our company are some of the most lovely and amazing people you'll ever meet. Everyone in our conveyancing department, our accounting department, our front of house, our managing broker teams, our accountants, like everyone is just so lovely and we all follow our same core values. And, and I'm just looking to grow our staff too, to work with great people and help to continue to be a part of their career journeys. And they almost feel like family to me too. So we're very protective of them.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Well, to your success, Michael. Thank you
so much, Alex. Thank you for having me. It's so fast and so quickly.
Yeah, it was short and sweet.
That was an unreal episode of The Flow. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did on my side right here. If you haven't already done so, make sure to check out all of the incredible resources that we have available. You can find us on Instagram at Flow Mortgage Co. You can find us on our website, getflowmortgage.ca. And of course, don't forget our free first-time homebuyer masterclass that's currently available on our website for anyone who listens to the episodes. And if you loved what you listened here today, the only thing that we ask for is to share this with someone else that you think this could help. And hey, maybe leave us a great review online.